But in the meantime, we start today with Donald Trump, who is on the defensive on this Monday morning. His campaign pushing back against claims that they're getting soft on the issue of immigration, which propelled him to the nomination. People say he may be flip-flopping on his previous policies, so we'll sort out what's really going on here. Good morning, everybody. I'm Martha McCallum, live in America's Newsroom.
Good Monday morning. I'm Greg Jarrett in for Bill Hemmer. Those continued questions prompting Trump to take to Twitter to announce what he says will be a major speech on immigration this week. He says it's set now for Wednesday in Arizona. In the meantime, the rest of his team launching a full court press to defend their candidate. His campaign manager telling Fox News Sunday, no one knows immigration like Trump does.
The signature piece of his legislation and his campaign has always been build the wall. That has not changed. Build the wall. No amnesty, no citizenship, no more sanctuary cities. He wants to find a fair and humane way, and if you enforce the law and you deal with those agencies that already exist to enforce the law, then we'll see what we've got. I mean, nobody bothers to enforce the law.
Senior national correspondent John Roberts is live at Trump Tower in New York City. John, what do we know about this speech on Wednesday? What's going on with the immigration backlash?
Well, we know, Greg, that Donald Trump is going to be answering a lot of critics when he takes to the stage in Arizona on Wednesday. Conservatives who say this is what they were worried about, that they believe now he's talking about amnesty for people who are in this country illegally. From his former opponents in the primary campaign who say he has flip-flopped on the major issue of his campaign, and from Democrats who say Donald Trump does not have a coherent policy on any front, let alone on immigration. When he gives that speech on Wednesday, he will go some distance to clarifying and giving greater level of detail on one particular issue, and that is what would he do about the 11 million or so people, or it could be more than that, who entered this country illegally. He's talked in the past couple of weeks about getting rid of the bad ones first and then dealing with the rest later, building the border wall, of course, and Donald Trump saying this in no way, shape, or form is amnesty because none of the people who remain will be eligible to get citizenship. New Jersey Governor Chris Christie on one of the Sunday shows yesterday said he believes when Donald Trump gives the speech, it will clearly contrast his plans with those of Hillary Clinton. Here's Christie.
I think what it's going to do is put an even greater highlight on the fact that Hillary Clinton has a 100-day amnesty plan where everybody here, no matter whether you've been a criminal or not, no matter how you got here or not, is going to wind up becoming American citizens under Hillary Clinton's plan. And I think when voters look at that, they're going to say that's not what we want to have happen in this country.
Now, all we know about the speech at this point is it's set to be delivered on Wednesday. Where, we don't know. I think they're going to try to get it as close to the border as possible, Greg. That would be the city of Nogales, but they don't know if there's a facility there that will handle the size of the crowd and the logistics they need for a Donald Trump speech. So perhaps Tucson is a backup to that. Greg?
Yeah, and a lot of his Trump supporters really anxious to hear what he has to say, whether he's going to reverse himself in the meantime. I understand the Trump campaign has, what, about 10 million in new TV ads, and they've got this new anti-Clinton ad. What's the deal with that?
Yeah, and this they're talking about strictly the economy, comparing and contrasting Donald Trump's plans for the economy with those of Hillary Clinton. It's a $10 million one-week ad buy. This is the biggest ad buy yet. And they branched out from their initial 4 battleground states, which was Ohio, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and Florida, to include 5 more battlegrounds across the country. Here's a portion of what that ad contains. Listen.
In Hillary Clinton's America, the middle class gets crushed. Spending goes up. Taxes go up. Hundreds of thousands of jobs disappear. It's more of the same, but worse.
And one more thing that Donald Trump will be doing this week is answering critics who say, okay, you talk about rebuilding the cities, outreach to African Americans, but how come you haven't gone into a black church to give any kind of a speech or any kind of event there? This coming Saturday in Detroit, he will be appearing at a black church in the inner city to talk about all of that. Right?
All right, John Roberts live at the Trump Tower in Manhattan. John, thanks.
So meanwhile, Trump facing a big backlash on social media after sending out 2 tweets responding to the shooting death of NBA star Dwayne Wade's cousin. All of this started after news of the shooting broke. She was a 34-year-old mom pushing a stroller with her child in it on the way to register him for school. And this was the initial quote that came out. Dwayne Wade's cousin was just shot and killed walking her baby in Chicago. Just what I have been saying. African Americans will vote Trump was the initial tweet. He then tweeted again saying my condolences to Dwayne Wade and his family on the loss of Nikia Aldridge. They're in my thoughts and prayers. That one came about an hour or so later. Byron York joins us now, chief political correspondent for the Washington Examiner and a Fox News contributor. Byron, good morning to you.
Good morning, Martha.
Your reaction to the first tweet that he sent out, which got a storm of criticism in the media over the weekend and this morning.
Yeah, it was the order of the two tweets that you just read that really angered people. That the first tweet was, hey, vote Trump, this is what I've been talking about. And a number of people immediately said, couldn't you just offer condolences or your prayers first and make it about politics later on? So about an hour later, as you said, Trump did offer, indeed, his condolences. But I think what you're going to see here is that when the flap over this goes away, there's a serious issue at play in this particular shooting in Chicago that plays into the campaign, which is arrested for this murder are two suspects who were both recently out of prison, one on a felony gun charge on parole, released early, 6 other felony arrests. And you remember Hillary Clinton and many Democrats are campaigning against what they call mass incarceration, that too many people, particularly minorities, are in jail. And I think what Trump is going to use this episode to show is that there are many dangerous criminals who are actually being released too early and need to stay in jail.
Yeah, you know, politically, Byron, it's a classic sort of Trump example where, you know, you kind of know what he meant to say, which was that, you know, this is what I've been talking about. You know, the crime that we see in our inner cities leads to tragedies like this, you know, and this is what I have been trying to say in my campaign. And this is just another tragic example that illustrates it, right? I mean, I think that's what he meant in that first tweet, but it gets, you know, it gets hard for them to continue to constantly have to battle that he's, you know, a little bit tactless in the way that he presents these things.
I think you're right, and I think we saw this immediately after the terrible mass shooting in Orlando, where Trump basically first reaction was, hey, this is what I've been talking about. And it is what he's been talking about, but style matters in politics and all of public life. And the first thing you do is express sorrow, grief, outrage, sympathy over some sort of tragic events. And then later, it will inevitably become part of the political argument. But Trump has kind of stepped on his own message by jumping out too early with a political message on this.
And then, you know, he complains that he's being misrepresented, that, you know, I heard him talking about the media and how they take just a couple words and they take it out of context. But he has to be aware of, you know, when he tweets these things, he sets himself up for that. Now, we're talking about the larger context of what he meant, which I'm sure, you know, is the goal. But it's just, you know, it's not politically savvy. You know, it's not even business savvy, if you want to look at it that way, in terms of how to get your message across.
Well, there are a lot of people who want to use anything they can against Donald Trump. He's running for president. He should know that. So I think one of the things you see in these tweets and some of the things Trump has said is this kind of lack of just basic tact. And Trump supporters will say, look, he's making substantive points. This is really an issue. There is an issue with illegal immigration. There is an issue with law and order. Yeah. And don't pay so much attention to the stylistic points. But style does matter.
Byron, thank you very much. More on this later.
Thank you, Martha.